There was no railroad to feed it, no electric power, nothing but a county highway growing emptier year by year. The only store was a wooden hovel with spider-eaten corners and a rotted patch in the middle of the floor, eaten by the rains that came through the leaking roof. The storekeeper was a fat, pallid woman who moved with effort, but seemed indifferent to her own discomfort. The stock of food consisted of dusty cans with faded labels, some grain, and a few vegetables rotting in ancient bins outside the door. "Why don't you move those vegetables out of the sun?" Dagny asked once. The woman looked at her blankly, as if unable to understand the possibility of such a question. "They've always been there," she answered indifferently. Driving back to the cabin, Dagny looked up at a mountain stream that fell with ferocious force down a sheer granite wall, its spray hanging like a mist of rainbows in the sun. She thought that one could build a hydroelectric plant, just large enough to supply the power for her cabin and for the town of Woodstock. Woodstock could be made to be productive. Those wild apple trees she saw in such unusual numbers among the dense growth on the hillsides were the remnants of orchards. Suppose one were to reclaim them, then build a small spur to the nearest railroad. "Oh, stop it!" "No kerosene today," the storekeeper told her on her next trip to Woodstock. "It rained Thursday night, and when it rains, the trucks can't get through Fairfield Gorge. The road's flooded, and the kerosene truck won't be back this way till next month." "If you know that the road gets flooded every time it rains, why don't you people repair it?" The woman answered, "The road's always been that way." Driving back, Dagny stopped on the crest of a hill and looked down at the miles of countryside below. She looked at Fairfield Gorge, where the county road, twisting through marshy soil below the level of a river, got trapped in a crack between two hills. It would be simple to bypass those hills, she thought, to build a road on the other side of the river. The people of Woodstock had nothing to do. She could teach them. Cut a road straight to the southwest, save miles, connect with the state highway at the freight depot of... "Oh, stop it!" She put her kerosene lamp aside and sat in her cabin after dark by the light of a candle, listening to the music of a small portable radio. She hunted for symphony concerts and twisted the dial rapidly past whenever she caught the raucous syllables of a news broadcast. She did not want any news from the city. "Don't think of Taggart Transcontinental," she had told herself on her first night in the cabin. "Don't think of it until you're able to hear the words as if they were Atlantic Southern or Associated Steel." But the weeks passed, and no scar would grow over the wound. It seemed to her as if she were fighting the unpredictable cruelty of her own mind. She would lie in bed, drifting off to sleep, then find herself suddenly thinking that the conveyor belt was worn at the coaling station at Willow Bend, Indiana. She had seen it from the window of her car on her last trip. She must tell them to replace it, or they... And then she would be sitting up in bed, crying, "Stop it!" and stopping it, but remaining awake for the rest of that night. She would sit at the door of the cabin at sunset and watch the motion of the leaves growing still in the twilight. Then she would see the sparks of the fireflies rising from the grass, flashing on and off in every darkening corner, flashing slowly, as if holding one moment's warning. They were like the lights of signals winking at night over the track of a... Stop it! It was the times when she could not stop it that she dreaded, the times when, unable to stand up, as in physical pain, with no limit to divide it from the pain of her mind, she would fall down on the floor of the cabin or on the earth of the woods and sit still with her face pressed to a chair or a rock, and fight not to let herself scream aloud, while they were suddenly as close to her and as real as the body of a lover. The two lines of rail going off to a single point in the distance, the front of an engine cutting space apart by means of the letters T.T., the sound of the wheels clicking in accented rhythm under the floor of her car, the statue of Nat Taggart in the concourse of the terminal. Fighting not to know them, not to feel them, her body rigid but for the grinding motion of her face against her arm, she would draw whatever power over her consciousness still remained to her into the soundless, toneless repetition of the words, "Get it over with."